Hey guys, Cooper Diesel Power Products. As you've noticed, we're out of the office today. We're on a field trip to visit our friends in California at Banks Engineering. We'll come along for a tour. We're gonna see what's new and cool here at Banks and meet the man himself, Gale.
Hey Cooper,
Hey, Gale.
great to see you.
Great seeing you again.
We've got a lot to show you today.
Let's get to it.
All right, it's on. So what this is our CNC shop. We're able to machine something the diameter of a torque converter in these two lathes. Back in the back there, that big CNC machine, Kuma, I can machine an engine block in there.
Wow.
A V12 engine block. And we've got some other smaller machines, manual machines, you know, kind of, we do it here. We do it in Azusa, California type of thing. We got a lot of guys here that are patriots. And in California, that's getting hard to find.
Yeah.
We're here. We do a lot of military and have for decades, so everybody gets it.
Kind of the beauty of you doing your own thing is you really control the quality side of things and what that end customer gets from you. It's got your name on it, literally, and you guys have put your hands on all aspects of the manufacturing. You don't have to pawn it off on anyone else. You can own it from start to finish.
And there are local foundries we use. One I've been using for about 45 years. Back in the boat days when we were doing a lot of marine engines, turbo marine engines that weren't diesel, they were gasoline, starting in the late 60s and through the 70s and 80s. So I've probably been with them closer to 50 years.
Wow.
Yeah, you talked about precision. The elemental stuff being, you know, the surface plate, your height gauges, dial indicators. This might interest you. This is a high performance intake manifold for the Eco Diesel. We use these on racing applications. We use them on all of our military versions of the Eco Diesel, which we call a Banks 630T.
Right.
And then this one, this goes back in the day.
Yeah.
This is a 12-valve Cummins twin ram intake that distributes the air more evenly to all the cylinders. So that's what we're looking at here. And I know you're kind of a fan of those. So
Yes.
I purposely
put that one out.
Yeah.
I don't know many people that aren't interested in the old P-pump 12-valve Cummins.
They're pretty damn cool.
Yeah.
Now what you hear in the background is kind of tube shop. Why don't we migrate over there and have a look?
Perfect.
All right. So this is our 5-inch stainless bending machine.
Wow.
Out of Italy. It weighs 65,000 pounds. So it can do different diameters. As you can see, there's two sets of tooling on the machine right now. So it moves vertically to change tube diameters, that sort of thing. We're bending 5-inch stainless, and he's just setting up a bend here. It's got to be right.
He's going to bend one up here for us.
He's going to pull down a blank, feed it onto the mandrel, which goes inside the tube.
Yep.
As I recall, this is a porous bronze mandrel, saturated with that Teflon grease.
Right.
So as it pulls through the tube, it's not abrading or ripping the material. And you see the end of the mandrel right there, that bronze.
It's wild.
Yeah. We went all around the world trying to find the best 5-inch machine. This came out of Italy, I might have mentioned earlier. Here we come in on the second. This always fascinates the hell out of me.
Oh yeah, it's a lot to wrap your brain around.
Yeah. You can see how effortless it is for the machine.
Oh yeah.
It'll bend a lot thicker wall. It'll bend up to 6 inch.
Wow.
So, and there you have it. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're good. Let's move on. Here's what we're talking about in finished form with a 5-inch stainless.
Finished product.
Yeah. The deal here is the 5-inch is very low back pressure. And if you drop back pressure, you unload the piston coming up on the exhaust stroke. So every pound of back pressure I can get rid of, even though we're behind the emissions equipment, there's still back pressure there. If I remove a pound behind the emissions equipment, I get a pound in front of the emissions equipment. If I remove a pound behind the turbine, there's a thing called expansion ratio, the pressure into the turbine versus the pressure out of the turbine. If I reduce a pound coming out of the turbine at full power, I'm going to get 3 or 4 pounds at the turbine inlet. So that's what's called drive pressure.
Right.
So what I do here is multiply
Upstream.
in the drive pressure reduction. And I'm not guessing at this. We instrument the living hell out of this stuff. This is a Ram Cummins setup. The tip is very typical, and this is where the real difference comes in. The whole idea, my whole idea in sciencing out this tip design was to make the tip literally scavenge the exhaust. So the way this works is we have a, if you will, kind of like a reverse curve rocket nozzle. So I studied the hell out of how the hell do rocket nozzles work. Basically, picked up some of that. We go to a bigger cross-sectional area, which is less restrictive than a normal tip.
Right.
Most tips, if you're on the flow bench and you put the tip on, it reduces the flow, especially if the tip's got things hanging into it, kind of blend fresh air and cool the tip. This tip expands, has a lot of surface area, forms virtually no back pressure, none. In fact, it helps scavenge the pipe. So this is kind of horizontal, coming out under the truck, and usually we tip this a little ahead and this a little behind, viewing down the side of the truck.
Right.
So as the air flows over this, you're getting a partial vacuum
To help
at
draw
the tip.
out more.
Yes, and we literally, with this, we get a negative pressure right there. It's actually a lack of pressure.
Wow.
So profound that it's below atmospheric pressure.
So you put a lot of effort into this, is what
Yeah,
you're
I put a lot of effort into this. I spent a couple of years on the design of this. So
Well, it looks beautiful.
thank you. Let's move on to the tube shop.
Let's do it. There's a lot of action going on over in this area of the building.
Yeah, this is the smaller diameter tube shop. You know, the big stuff, the sledging, the cutting, all that kind of stuff happened in the building we just left. So here we do smaller diameter stuff, 3.5 inch boost tubes, Jeep headers, that kind of stuff, all the way up to about 4 inch. Number of benders in here. We have a half a dozen weld stations.
Yep.
And a prototype weld station on the end. So you've got guys on the other side, guys here, and we do the assembly of all the mounts, you know, the normal stuff, but also the precision welding of headers and that kind of stuff as well.
All right here, in-house.
Yeah, I'll show you some of the engine process we do.
Yeah.
Let's go over to Banks Tech.
Let's see what the future holds.
All right.
Well, you got a wall of engines here.
Yeah, they come and they go.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about these suckers.
So we assemble these at GM Marine, the Duramax engine plant, or DMAX as they call it. They're a combination of GM and Banks. So the guys on the line, there's a special team that does Banks engines, a special time of day when they do Banks engines. Why? Because Banks engines are different. So the difference kind of starts at the bottom of the cylinder block. This mid pan and this oil pan in the pickup and the whole oil air separation assembly is something, frankly, that I invented and got a US patent on years ago. The problem I had was the angle that the truck can get at. This is the Joint Light Tactical Vehicle, or JLTV engine, in its basic form. The whole reason for this whole oil system on the bottom is to reduce oil aeration by working the oil less. In other words, you've got the crank rotating, the rods and pistons moving up and down in each crank bay.
Yep.
Generally speaking, there's some impact device to drive the oil out of the air as it comes down into the sump. They call them profile scrapers or whatever.
Windage trays.
Windage trays, they're brutal. They're impact devices. I took a whole new thought process on oil aeration, oil heating, all of the issues the old school has, we've engineered out. And it's measurable. Basically, the impact puts rotational drag on the rotating crankshaft. So first thing we found was 4 more horsepower.
Wow.
The second thing we found was lower oil temperature at this higher horsepower. The third thing we found, and this is incredibly important because it speaks to the film strength of the oil under high temperature. There's a thing called aeration. It's unavoidable. All this mixing with the rods, pistons, and crank and counterweights and all that jive drives air into the oil. That reduces the film strength, and you got to do something about it. If you want a durable, these engines have to do a 400-hour NATO test, 85%, which is full RPM, full horsepower, full load, for 400 hours. It's a really rigorous test. Part of achieving that is cutting back the aeration. So we measured the aeration with the standard generally shipped, and I kind of went, this ain't going to do NATO. Let's start with that. Secondly, it doesn't fit the truck anyway. There's like a big pumpkin under here, big front diff. I mean big. There's steering gear that runs behind the oil sump. So we had to have something different in the pan shape. So while we were at it, we came up with a whole new system of passive separation. It's really passive separation of the oil and air rather than impact separation. So it cuts the aeration by 60%.
Wow.
It's massively important if you're buzzing the engine a lot.
Yeah.
And that's what the 400-hour NATO did. Now, a lot of guys think if you have more capacity, that aids oil cooling. No, that just delays how
Quick the saturation
how quick
is.
it gets hot.
Yeah.
Yeah, but once it's hot, more capacity doesn't do a damn thing for you.
Right.
So it kind of holds off hot for another 10 minutes or so.
Yeah.
Or 5 minutes, whatever it is. Guys who sell high capacity based on heat
Right.
they're fibbing to you.
Snake oil.
Yeah, I got some pans to show you. So the whole idea is how do you get the heat out of the pan? This flywheel or torque converter housing on the rear, that's ours. And it goes to a quite large Allison, bigger than a 1000, like
Right.
an Allison 2500. And on the front, we have a dual shiv, I think both of them are 14 rib, and a viscous damper
Okay.
that we do. Stock is a rubber damper. We do a viscous damper, and we're driving a whole lot of load off the nose of the crankshaft. So one of the things that guys fail, if I may get in here, one of the things the guys fail with the stock D-Max is their alignment pins, not keyways. A lot of guys will get a big load going on and shear one of the alignment pins, then the damper rotates and it's putting the counterweight in the wrong place, and you end up generally breaking a crank. But before that happens, you should feel the vibration.
Right.
A lot of guys don't. The crank breakage commonly is in the front throw. So to prevent that, we use a diamond dust washer that goes between our damper and the front flange so that we don't need a keyway.
It grips it.
It grips like you no believe. I mean, coefficient of friction is suddenly insane.
Right.
So we've never failed one. We've never sheared a pin
Wow.
with a diamond dust washer. So let me show you the top of the engines just as a further tease. So as they come from the GM plant, there's no intake manifold, there's no exhaust system. It's got an emissions style exhaust manifold on this side. We replaced that with a Banks design manifold. Our up pipes, all the plumbing into the turbocharger foot and out of. The heat shielding is glorious.
Oh yeah.
You should see it. I can't show you the finished engine, but I can let you dream about it. Intake manifold is us. It's a front feed, which is kind of cool. I intend to do a version of it for the guys that want to buy the oil pans and that kind of stuff, mid pans and all that kind of stuff. This would be a cool high performance or racing type of intake manifold. Then all the wiring, all the missing plumbing, all the missing sensors, the glow plug module, it's all us. And the damper and shiv assembly, there's a FIAD plate, front engine accessory drive plate, which is a large mother and mounts a giant alternator over here. So everything that facilitates all the mounting of that kind of stuff all happens in the next building. So.
And which one of these was the one I was taking home? I don't remember.
Well, I don't know. It could be this one. You like the looks?
Yeah.
Well,
It's
let me give
missing
it.
a
I'll give
couple
it
of parts.
a pat on the ass and send it to Spokane.
Heading to the dyno cell?
We are, but we can't walk past
Whoa.
Lockjaw.
Yeah, what is this thing?
It would be a crime to walk past this truck.
Would you say the name was?
Lockjaw.
Do we need a tetanus shot?
You may. There's a lot of bare rust and raggedy holes. There were so many in the roof, we actually rescalped it. But other than that, it's cherry, OEM, original, whatever you want to call it. But it's like we lifted up the body of this 66 3/4 ton and dropped it down on all this
New hotness.
new wonder goodness. Yeah.
And this is like,
It's all steel.
steel.
Yeah.
There's a lot of detail in this sucker.
I'm kind of a exterior decorating of engines. I'll admit to you, I go that way. So how cool and how proper can you make an engine look? That to me is when a guy shows his friend, it's like the friend might be a baseball player or something other than that. He doesn't understand it, but he knows what looks good.
Yeah.
You know, everybody appreciates art.
It's very feng shui.
Yeah, I guess so. Boy, you really tricked me out. Boy, you guys up there in Washington State come on with that stuff. So anyhow, it's a Duramax.
Yeah.
This particular one has a big Whipple on it, screw blower. Of course, it's diesel, blown and intercooled, and it has a load of nitrous.
Yeah, I see all the solenoids
Yes.
lined up there.
Eight nitrous nozzles. It's progressive. And then we have boost relief, electronically controlled with some stuff that we made up. Basically, this blower makes enough boost at idle. You know, you dream about having boost off the line.
Right.
This is it. This thing makes enough boost at idle that it leans out the idle mixture. There's too much air.
Oh, wow.
If you can imagine, too much air. We open this valve
To
and we
dump
let
it.
some of the air out, which is a cool sound in its own right, so that your idle air fuel ratio is combustible, not so lean that it's not. The minute you tip in, that thing's shut. This thing is really putting out, and the throttle response is like ripping sheets. It's just a whap.
Wow.
It's really quick for a diesel. First time I winged it sitting in the truck, I just about lost it. It
Scared
was like,
yourself.
didn't really scare me. The engines don't scare me,
Right.
but I was just so goddamn happy to hear it. I've never heard a diesel do that before.
Right.
So open headers help a lot. You know, the sound of it. There's no turbos in the way.
Right.
So the exhaust flow and the pumping loss on getting the exhaust out of the cylinders is quite low, and the sound is mind-bending. So the guys wear like helicopter ear protection,
Earplugs
and
or
they talk to
headphones.
each other
Yeah.
over the onboard communication system in the back wall of the cab.
Now you guys literally touched every single square inch. I noticed you don't have wipers, but you have the nice Banks B
Yeah,
prominent there, and the wheels, they're pretty unique. You got like a fin design on them, and they look like they're out of a solid chunk of
Well,
billet.
this is Jonathan Peace. He did these wheels for us. He also did the steering wheel. Spark is the name of his concern. These are out of big chunks of billet, and I kind of got this wild hair. If we're going to run big brakes, and we're going to take this thing out, we're going to run it around a road race track and build some brake temperature, how do I get rid of it? These wheels pump air. The fins are intended to pump air
Wow.
from inside over the brakes and out to the outside. That has a couple of, it improves the aerodynamics of the truck when you fill this area. You know, air hits the nose, especially on a brick like this, blows off this way and blows up this way. So you've got this area here that's kind of negative pressure. It's begging to be filled with air. And that engine bay is begging to be evacuated, and the brakes are begging to be cooled. So these wheels work beautifully.
When it looks like you've handled some of the air in the front with these massive inlets.
Well, we're inhaling some of the frontal area. I call that inhaling the frontal area.
Yeah.
It's something I've done since the early 60s, taking headlights out of a 53 Studebaker and doing ram air in place. I did it one time, next meet at the Dry Lakes, it was outlawed.
Oh,
You know,
that worked too good.
Yeah, well, I was running in a gas class, body had to be stocked, that included headlights.
Ah.
So, but I took a picture of it.
And you still got a bed, so you can do some work with this thing.
Yeah, in fact, there's a toolbox mounted in the bed. Full framed it, Allison 6-speed, full instrumentation using our iDashes, of which we have 4 mounted in the instrument panel. And I worked with the guys to design a billet instrument panel that looks like the Chevy,
Oh, yeah.
only it's billet. You know, but it keeps that theme going on. You know, we've got a little braking set up here, so
A little
we can
handbrake.
drift.
Yep.
You know, if you're into drifting. So we're getting this thing ready to do all of the above.
Yeah.
Drifting, you know, street takeover at 2 in the morning, whatever you want to do, we're up for it.
Wow. Well, nice job on this.
And with that nitrous load that you see in the back, we're probably in the vicinity of 12 to 1400 horsepower. It depends on how much nitrous. We've got the ability, fuel-wise, to get up there. That's pretty sweet. This thing is air-conditioned.
Sweet.
It's completely street capable on a hot day. So you know, we should fire this thing up.
Yeah, can we hear it?
Hey, Eric. Hey, just the man I'm looking for. Can you light this thing off?
Let's do it.
All right, go for it. He's acting. He's going to be a badass and no ear protection.
Yeah.
If I were you, I'd back away a little bit. Yeah. Oh yeah. glad that's over with.
That was awesome. Set off a car alarm. Good.
Oh, is there a car alarm going out there? And that's from inside the building. Cooper, I'd like you to meet Doug.
How's it going, Doug?
How you doing? Good to meet
So Doug's working on the 2024 Duramax L5P Derringer.
Nice.
New tuner. I knew about it. I didn't know it was this far along.
you. Yeah.
And here we go.
New product. What's the turnaround time on shipping these parts after you design them?
I never
into the
promised that. But as quickly as possible. You know, the trucks are on the street, so we need to get there.
And are you outsourcing the development and build of these things after you design them in-house here?
Actually, we don't outsource the design. We do outsource the manufacture and test.
Overseas or?
No, not at all. It's right over here, 4 miles away at John Shimon's place.
Oh.
And it's my neighbor. We share an oak tree. So, and he's an old school hot rodder. I'm an old school hot rodder. We get on beautifully. And I hope he's still with us. You know, I'm kind of worried about John. I haven't seen him lately, but we trimmed the oak tree the other day on both sides of the fence. Went over and got the stuff out of his yard. I don't know. He didn't come out and try to shoot me. So what you're looking at is the circuit board with a component load on it, both sides. And these are multi-layer circuit boards, of course. There's a lot going on here. What we're sensing on the 24 and what the control outputs are, I'm holding close to the vest for the time being. There'll be a new iDash called the iDash Pro that goes with this one, so that's coming as well. And ultimately a new data logging iDash called the iDash Data Pro. So all that's coming as part of the total package.
And just to kind of hit it home, so you design here, you have a guy up the road that builds in
He
here.
stuffs the boards.
And then
Yeah.
you assemble.
We not only design the product, we just design the tester, which I'll show you, tests loads the code into the product and tests the product over at Shimon's place. So then it comes back to us. We have a tester if we were screwing around as well. That's all happening in another room here. Doug gets it to here. The guys out here are writing the code. Code worders in the other room. We can go out there and have a look.
Sweet.
I mentioned that we do the programming and testing, that we send a tester to the board house. This is another tester where we're testing out the routines that they might use at the board house. We've designed the fixtures. These are iDashes that are popped into the fixture and feed information into the tester. All of this is designed at Banks, homebrew completely. It gets pretty impressive looking, and here's what we're testing, something that small. So let's go into the lab and have a look there. All right, Cooper. I'd like you to meet Rick.
Oh,
How's it going, Rick?
good. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So,
That looks an awful lot like a Derringer module right there.
Well, it actually is a Derringer module, but it's modified for this test platform. Because we're able to send digital analog signals in and out of the Derringer boards, we can actually make this Derringer board talk to another Derringer board. And this platform that we have designed allows us to do automated testing on all of our products. So we cable up our product to the front of this, we hook it to the computer, and we run an automated test.
Oh, so you can put it through its paces before you actually have it in the
Yes, in
truck
fact, we
somewhere.
have very stringent testing, and if it doesn't make it past this, then it's not going.
Well, there's no question that you guys designed and built all of this. You have Banks on every circuit board in here.
Well, we're very proud of it. You also notice it's in gold. So.
I like gold.
yeah.
Well, thank you for your time. What do we got next, Banks? Well, this is where it matters, at the wheels
Yeah.
for the end consumer.
What are you actually putting to the ground?
Totally, and this
Yeah.
is a brand new Duramax. Are you guys getting baseline stuff, or are there products?
We've got the baseline,
Oh.
and we're looking at ram air intake, tuning, Derringer tuner for this.
So this has a Derringer on it.
Yes, there's a prototype Derringer on this. Boost tubes, and more importantly on the boost tubes, how the air flows out of the compressor into the charge air cooler, out of the charge air cooler, and into the monster ram that we're doing for these, or the stock air inlet. So it's not just big pipes. It's how you get into the pipe and out of the pipe. If you want to reduce the pressure loss of the pipes, you got to address that too. So you can't have things that step into flow. Everything's got to be finessed because there's diameter changes as you do it. I would like to do a charge air cooler for it as well. So that's kind of in the flow path. Then we have, of course, the 5-inch exhaust, monster exhaust. So all of those things. Instrumentation, we're working on a new iDash called the iDash Pro, which I hope to introduce with this build. So that's coming. So new instrumentation, new ability to data log, and new ability to control a whole bunch of things from the iDash, like our pedal monster, you know, our throttle modulator, our throttle enhancer, which now has 150 calibrations you can do.
Wow.
30 base calibrations, and we have what we call a tip-in control, wherein you can soften it, like if you've got a little snow or ice or whatever, if you like the rest of it, you want to mellow out the tip end, or you nailed it and all the plates in the trailer are now on the floor, that type of thing.
Yep.
So ultimately, it's kind of a torque trim type of thing. We'll come up with a brand name for it, but no one else is doing it. So that's a whole nother conversation, but it's all happening right here. As far as the dyno is concerned, it's twin 20-inch rolls that are Gilmer belted together. So you drive off both rolls. This is OEM level vehicle development, carried further than they went.
Wow.
We're the power option the factory didn't offer. That's Banks. That's our position in the marketplace. Our stuff might be a bit more expensive, but it works.
And you know that you're going to keep the longevity and reliability of these investments because they're not cheap.
I mean, what are they? Fully rigged, 80 plus?
90, yeah.
Yeah. It's like, whoa, what happened to my $18,000 pickup truck?
Right.
So there you have it. This is our chassis dyno cell with the Banks wind machine. We also use this set down lower to measure the cooling of our rear diff cover.
Oh, sweet.
And we did our diff cover development here.
Well, thank you for the tour. We got to start off on the manufacturing side, really
Well,
see where things got down and dirty, walk through some of the developmental areas,
Yes.
some of your engine programs that we could just see that you're passionate about, and it is something you should definitely be proud of.
Thank you.
And on through the remainder of the area where you're really pushing the industry by figuring out what the problems are, how they work baseline, what we might encounter in the future, and then finding a solid solution
Yes.
to it, and then finish it off without, ideas and dynos and anything else, but putting it on rollers where you can simulate a real world situation and really
Exactly.
put it through its paces.
And see if it's durable. See if
Yeah.
it performs as. We haven't talked about emissions, but we have a world-class emissions bench that we're not going to get into emissions real deep, other than to say, if we sell it for the street, it's emissions legal. We don't just say it. As far as what we're selling you, if you want to be illegal, we don't do illegal. I'm sorry.
But if you want it to be compliant, you want it to be reliable, you want to know that your investment is protected.
And ultimately sellable to somebody else.
Yeah. Well,
So
awesome.
hope you enjoyed the tour.
Absolutely. Thank you for the time.